During the 2017 Art Pop Comic Expo in Springdale, Arkansas, I had the pleasure of seeing my talented artist pal Tim Lim. We had met as neighbors at a previous show in San Antonio, and we hit it off as I was a fan of his artwork and generosity. I was also, perhaps not so surprised, at our similarities in upbringing as Asian Americans, and especially the pressures of pleasing our parents academically, which would then allow a respectable career. So how did we end up doing art instead of the expected stereotypical path of becoming a doctor, lawyer, or engineer? And are we a disappointment to our family trees? Listen in to find out. Hi, I'm Tom Nguyen here, and we are at Arkansas Art Pop Comic Expo 2017 in lovely Springdale, Arkansas, obviously. And I'm sitting here with one of the guest artists, Timothy Lim.
That's me. Hey,
welcome.
Guys.
Tim is a recent friend of mine. We met actually merely 2 weeks ago in person in San Antonio at Alamo City Comic Con. And we just totally hit it off. Of course, the Asian background kind of helps. Us Asian artists, we tend to see each other, we give the nod, and we just kind of bond mentally that way, and then we share stories about our past and our horrible upbringing. But no, half jokingly, but we'll touch upon that in a little bit. But I thought Tim's background is very interesting and good for some of my viewers to know, especially upcoming artists and especially artists who are Asian. And normally I don't bring ethnicity into this type of stuff. It shouldn't really have a place in creating art. But I thought it was appropriate to see how our backgrounds are closely related and how you can relate as an emerging artist, especially if you're an Asian artist. So, first of all, Tim.
Yes.
What race are you for our viewers who like to know different ethnicities? I'm Vietnamese.
I've been told different numbers, but I think I'm 90% Chinese and 10% Filipino.
Okay.
And somewhere in there, it's definitely leaning on the Chinese side on the ethnicity scale. 100% American though. So
were you born here?
I was born here. Yeah, here in Arkansas, in Little Rock. Yeah.
Okay. So when I was young growing up, just like most traditional Asian upbringings, my parents instilled in me to get a respectable job as an adult, to go through proper university,
right,
and become something on par as being a doctor, mm-hmm, or a lawyer or an engineer,
right,
something respectable. Because the way I look at it, a lot of Asian immigrant parents who come here and their kids are raised here, they're very competitive with each other.
Correct.
And they use their kids almost as
leverage,
bragging rights.
Yeah.
So, which is all kinds of wrong in my opinion. So, as I was growing up, they would say, "See, look at so and so, who are my peers, my friends. Look at so and so's kids. They're doing so well in school.
Right.
What have you done?" Of course, I kick ass in the spelling bee.
Sure.
In 8th grade, I almost went to state. Did you know that?
I almost did too, but I was beaten by one. I'll never forget it. The word was talcum. And I couldn't spell it. I was actually thinking to myself the name Malcolm, which ends with COLM. So that's how I spelt it. Instead of what I should have done with the traditional spelling, TALCUM. But so I guess that's the shared background too. Let's see how many Asians out there almost made it to state with their spelling.
See, I was literally second runner-up to the state of Minnesota.
Dang. Yeah.
And the top two, so the winner and the first runner-up
was an Indian.
Got to go to. That's funny though.
That's true.
Got to go to the Scripps Howard's National Spelling Bee.
Oh, holy!
That's how close
cow.
I was.
Yeah.
To it, age 14, and then age 15, I aged out. I wasn't qualified.
Did they give you a runner-up prize?
I got a little trophy or something like that.
Hey, at least you got something.
Man, I cleaned house in the coming up to that level. Man,
yeah.
I cleaned house in my school district.
Right.
Man, wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what was your upbringing like?
It was pretty similar to that. Growing up, it was instilled in me that I was gonna be a doctor, and probably part of that is because everyone in my family is in the medical field in some way.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate Asian dream.
It is either a nurse, a doctor, a therapist. Somewhere in that line of thinking, and so it was almost like my path was set for me. You're going to go into the medical field in some way, shape, or form. And I think part of that, and I think it's interesting that you bring up how the Asian ethnicity part actually plays a huge role into that, because there's a huge cultural component that I think most people are aware of it, but it's the idea that pretty much from day one, there's this kind of expectation of where you're going to go. And so as I went through college, one thing that I realized was even though I was academically inclined, it was not something that I naturally liked. I was good at it. I graduated summa cum laude, but as the time came for medical school applications and studying for MCAT and stuff like that, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like, don't get me wrong, I think the salary is good. I think the prestige is merited, but it's not what I want to do. It's something that keeps me up at night thinking to myself, this is not something I'm going to be happy with later on down the line. What am I going to do? And eventually what ended up happening was it was a kind of a compromise. I didn't go to med school, but I did go and get my audiology degree. So I got a doctorate in audiology, which is a new degree.
So you're technically
sciences.
a doctor.
I'm technically a doctor.
Dr. Lim.
Dr. Lim, yeah. It's a different degree. It's not an MD, medical doctorate. It's an AUD, which stands for Doctorate of Audiology. And I like it because audiology is an emerging field, relatively new compared to other medical sciences, even though hearing science has been around for a long time. But it's a 3-year degree plus a 4th year that you spend basically in residency, and then you leave with a doctorate degree. And I like it because I can work fairly comfortable hours. Audiology is ranked as like the #1 most comfortable job in America. Not a whole lot of stress involved with it, and it works well with this artist lifestyle too, because I can take time off and kind of do other things. And so I think it was kind of a happy compromise that I ended up having with my parents, even though I think they would have still preferred I got an MD. But in the end, I think they were I guess kind of pleased that I was able to make it work somehow. But it wasn't easy. Oh yeah.
But overall, you're still the disappointment in the family, right? because you're not a medical doctor or a nurse.
Maybe I think my parents are still. I think they're proud of me, or at least they tell me they are. I think once in a while, mom and dad will still say, hey, you think about going back into medicine?
Same with my parents.
You still want to go and get your medical degree?
Same with me in nursing.
And my wife, we have a gentleman who's going to be passing
that's
through.
fine.
Oh, okay, there he goes. We have it's funny because my wife, she's actually a surgeon, and I think they were really proud of that. They were like, wait, at least you married someone
What kind of surgeon?
She wants to do general surgery.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's funny because in a way we kind of made it work that way. I guess by proxy, by my wife being in the medical field, we at least solidified that position in there.
Sure.
But I think the one thing that I appreciate my parents not doing is they don't do the comparison anymore. I think it's the fact that they've kind of seen.
You're too far gone now as an adult.
Yeah, as an adult, you reach this threshold where it's kind of like we know that the person has achieved their own, I guess, degree of independence, and so we can't really let them. We can't force them too much. But what really struck me about Tom's situation was I eavesdropped on him when he was talking to a client or a customer at his table, and he was sharing his experience, and it dawned on me. I just thought, this is not something new. I think if you look, and I might be misquoting here, but I think like if you look at Jim Lee, Cliff Chang, these other Asian artists, Frank Cho, that's the one I was missing.
Playing the nursing.
They all had the same path where they all wanted to go into medicine, or they were told to, and then at some point they just said, you know what, I don't really want to do this. I know I have an aptitude for something. I know if you believe in this or not, it's as if I was given a God-given talent that I need to pursue, and as a result of that, I need to do that. But one thing that my manager, Eric, and I were talking about is I think part of the Asian experience is also an aptitude for drawing. And I think part of it is because of cultural norms. We're not really athletes. We don't play pro ball or anything like that. It's cerebral. And if you think about it, drawing is a cerebral task. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, you're studying to be, I don't know, an engineer, a biologist, a doctor. But on the other hand, that technical side of the brain is also like, well, we have to do something. We have to have a hobby. And so why is it that so many Asians do art as a hobby and then later on as a profession? So I just think that it's such an interesting experience culturally, how so many Asians are told to go in this one route and end up doing something else.
I think art is a little more, in my opinion, in Asian culture, art is a little more revered and not, how do I put it? I don't think it's as
stigmatized as something that I guess
in the Western culture, it's they kind of take it for granted more now than ever.
Right.
Like it's like I said, it's not as treasured or revered as it is in Asian cultures.
Yeah, and I don't know what you think about this, but I think part of it is that whenever someone says Asian art, you automatically have a concept in your mind of what that looks like, whether it be ink wash paintings or anime or manga or whatever. A dragon, yeah.
Yin Yang symbol somewhere in there.
Everyone has a dragon in their house. You go to my house, there's a big dragon, just on the walls, no big deal. But I thought about it because if you think of in Western culture, or if you think in the way Americans think of art, it's kind of an ambiguous statement.
It's a hamburger.
It's a hamburger,
and fries.
Or it's a hamburger and fries, or it's a Pollock, it's a Warhol. When you think of art in Asian tradition, it has a standard.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, like, you look at a piece of art, and we don't like to say it, but it's true. But it's like you can almost tell, like, oh, an Asian drew this.
Yeah.
Like, we do it all the time, and so I think there's a different standing in that, because I remember that even though my parents didn't really want me to be an artist, they never discouraged me from drawing. Kind of a weird thing right there. Whereas if I were drawing as a hobby, or is it? They didn't like that. They were just like, oh my gosh, like, don't go down that path.
Why do you keep doing that hobby stuff for kids?
Right.
I want you to do something serious. But
now, were your parents artistically inclined?
My dad.
He was.
He was a draftsman. Yeah.
He was, okay.
Like I probably got.
And that's the weirder thing, because my mom, she did drawing and painting.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because you said every member in your family has something like a connection to the medical or health industry.
Yep.
So you're kind of like a replica of Dr. Dow, the guy who made the headlines.
Yeah. Oh, sure. United Airlines.
United Airlines, because I was reading a little article about him.
Yeah.
And it said that, he's a doctor.
Uh-huh.
His wife's a doctor.
Right.
I think. And 4 out of his 5 kids, it's either 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5. I want to say 4 out of his 5 kids are in the medical field, or they're in medical school.
Yeah.
Talk about the Asian dream. What an unhappy family that must be.
Sure, I'm sure they're living in a shack somewhere, and, poor and unwashed. But no, it's interesting because who else was I was thinking about? I thought you were going to bring up Ken Jeong, the comedian.
Oh yeah,
so Ken Jeong, the comedian from the Hangover series, Doctor, and I was reading his bio, and apparently when he was in, not Baylor, what's the school down in New Orleans?
I don't know.
You don't know, okay. But anyway,
I'm a college dropout.
When he was going through medical school, he was a comedian at comedy houses in New Orleans.
Like that's his part-time job.
That was like his part-time job, and it was funny because the one thing that my parents did tell me, and I think this is the compromise that I ended up. This is the wild card I ended up playing later on, was I really wanted to do art, but my parents were telling me you can't make money doing art. And the one thing they told me is they said, look, do this, do something that will make you money, and then once you establish that, then you can pursue whatever it is that you want to do later on.
Yeah.
So I got my doctorate degree, and then sure enough, I was practicing for a year and a half, and then I found an avenue in which I could make money doing art, which is in merchandising. Merchandising art pays very well.
So how did you break into that?
Mostly coincidence.
So tell me your journey about how you went from completing your education. Did you get a job in the audiology field right away?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I did my 3 years of audiology school, and in my 4th year I was in a private practice with a very good friend of mine at a really good audiology clinic in Fort Smith, which is just a few miles south from here. And after that I stayed on board. I was hired by the university in Little Rock, where I graduated, to work there part-time, and I was working part-time at 2 other private practices. And the way I got into doing merchandising was I found out through online t-shirt sales. You'll have these websites where it's like for 24 hours we'll have this really cool t-shirt for $10, and you get to keep $1 per shirt sold. And it was a friend of mine who showed me that, and they were like, hey, you should look into this. And at that point I had never done art for pay. It was always just for fun. But I did a shirt design, and it was accepted. And the first time I got a royalty check, I couldn't believe it, because it was for like $2,400.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I even contacted them. I said, this can't be right, because holy cow, that's a lot of money. And they said, yeah, but it's $1 per shirt sold. So do the math. You sell 2,400 shirts all across America. You get $1 per shirt sold. That's what your check comes out to. And I couldn't believe it. So I was like, I can make money doing this. So what I would do is I'd come home from work, draw, submit. And I did that, like every day, because audiology, at the end of the day, you're not on call. It's a pretty comfortable job, submitting. And then after about 6 months of doing this, I just thought, I have 3 part-time jobs. I can quit 2 of them and keep the one, and I can make money doing this. I did that long enough, and eventually I just got noticed by the merchandising sector, and so I started doing that for licensing. So I've been doing licensed merchandise art for 6 or 7 years already, and then eventually I transitioned into doing comic covers, which I guess is kind of like the dream in terms of what I ultimately want to do.
Yeah. What are some of the comic covers you've done and publishers you've worked with?
I've done. I did a color variant. I did colors for a variant cover for Archer and Armstrong for Valiant. I do a lot of work for IDW. Did variant covers for Back to the Future, number 1 and number 7. Street Fighter vs. G.I. Joe, which was a lot of fun. TMNT Universe. Transformers Lost Sight #1, Optimus Prime #1.
Yeah,
did a couple of those. I did James Bond Varder #1 for Dynamite as well, and then there's a couple of other projects down the line too.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So would you say most of your work, even in merchandising, I mean, I'm imagining that merchandising, you get to draw a little more wide variety of genres.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm glad that you point that out. I think part of that is maybe why I was hired. Was one thing that I'm not good at is being creative, but one thing I am good at is making fun of other things. And so one of the things that I would do as kind of like my shtick with selling T-shirts was I would take like a famous painting and I would just recreate it, but I would put like some pop culture element in it. And so what I'd have to do is I would have to think to myself, like, what images are so prevalent in pop culture that you might not know who did it, but you recognize it when you see it. And so I would take those and work with it. And I think in merchandising, that's what they like, because they're not really focused too much on your style. They're more focused on what sells.
Yeah.
And so over 7 years working with merchandising with We Love Fine, which is a company that has all these licenses, it's been fun because sometimes they'll give me something I've never done before, like, can you draw in this style? And my reply was never no. It was always, I had never done it before, but I'm going to learn. And I would download resources and observe. And so it gave me an appreciation of how other people draw and technique and stuff like that. Yeah. And it gave me a great range of versatility in terms of deciding. And it taught me a lot more as an artist in terms of learning what things work and what things don't. Getting into the artist's mind and thinking to yourself, like, what is it that makes this artist so unique compared to someone else?
Right. So what are your favorite things to draw or properties to draw? I noticed that you had a lot of Street Fighter stuff. Like, I got an amazing Cammy print from you 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, you like that?
Yeah, because I'm a huge Street Fighter 2 fan.
Oh, yeah. And
I never evolved past 2, though. I'm a side-scroll guy.
Maybe it's an Asian thing. Have you noticed that Asians are really big into, like, fighting games?
Yeah, I think so, because you know, we're born black belts.
We are.
So
well, maybe it's a competitive side. It's like we can't beat up like the high school jock, but we could probably
I'll beat you up digitally.
Yeah, we'll do it in Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or whatever. I like gaming. I like retro gaming. Yeah. That's the thing, and I'm the same way.
Man, you should have. You know what we did last night after dinner?
Arcadia. You went to Arcadia?
Yeah. Have you been there?
No, but
oh my god, it is one of the most amazing places I've ever seen.
It's an old school like arcade setup.
I'm gonna throw that up on my YouTube.
Yeah,
you'll see. Yeah,
I've heard a lot of positive things about it, but. I think there was a time I have a PlayStation 3. I never bought a PlayStation 4, but pretty much I was playing that PlayStation all the way up until PlayStation 2. Pretty much any Capcom fighting game you have. What I like about, I guess, the video game genre is you can do so much with the characters, and sometimes the licensees don't really care what you do with them, and so I think that's why those characters are so well loved. There's not a lot of politics involved with them. I mean, like, not to get big into politics, but you have maybe in comics you have characters that you love, and then the publisher does something with them that you're just like, oh my gosh, like I really wish they didn't do that. Yeah. Video games, you don't really have that. I mean, Mario is always going to be Mario. His storyline is just go and rescue the princess, go and defeat Bowser. That's it.
Simple objective.
Simple objective. And so those characters are like a tabula rasa, where they're anything that you project into that character. And so those are fun to draw because I don't feel like there's any stigma attached to the character. Whereas other characters who I normally would like to draw, I'll draw them and then someone will come up and be like, you see what they did with the character in the latest comic? And I'm like, no, because I don't want that to be spoiled for me. I don't want that to be attached. Whereas I found out that drawing like video game characters, they always sell because I think the characters are always unblemished. As long as you don't mess anything up with them, which I don't think most of the video game companies do, they're always going to remain in that bubble where they're going to remain untouched. So I like drawing them just for the sheer fact that A, they're nostalgic and I like them, and B, people still like them because they have not been tarnished by anything in modern culture. But I mean, I have a pretty wide variety of things I like. Yeah. But I like it whenever people buy, for example, like the Street Fighter prints, because then we can rap with each other and talk about it. Yeah. Can't really do that nowadays with, say, like a Spider-Man. I mean, honestly, even though I like the property, I like the franchise, I don't keep up with the books, and so someone will come and try to talk to me about it, and I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. See, that's a smart way to do it, to gain interaction with your clients. Because I just draw what sells. I'm a sellout. So I'll draw whatever, and then they'll want to talk to me about it, and I'll be like, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. No, you're going to appreciate this. The last Batman book I ever picked up was Under the Red Hood. Oh, sweet. It was, yeah. And the reason why was because... That's why I like him. Yeah, and the reason why is I've always liked kind of these underdog characters because as a new reader to comics, I actually came into the comics game late. I didn't start picking up comics religiously until I was like 12. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, like, people laugh at this, but my introduction to Spider-Man was the cartoon back in like the 60s, not the 60s cartoon, like the 80s cartoon. And in the comics, it was the Clone Saga. And I like Ben Reilly because I was like, here's a fresh Spider-Man. I don't have any continuity to worry about.
Yeah.
That's what's going to define this character for me.
Right.
But I always liked the fact that, it was like Jason Todd got killed. And when I heard that they're going to bring him back, I was like, well, here's a character that's brand new and fresh.
Yep.
And I feel like there's not that much backstory to him. I'm going to pick up this book because that way I can get into the character now and learn everything about him that I can. And so that's actually the last Batman book I actually picked up.
Oh, very cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's the Under the Red Hood storyline, that and The Blackest Night has been very good to me royalty-wise.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And, so I always be grateful for that.
Yeah, the opportunity that presents.
So you were talking about cards and prints at your table. Like, what kind of merchandise do you do? What do you sell? What do you offer to the fans that stop by your table?
Oh, yeah. So sketch cards are a big thing right now. People like that. I noticed that one thing that I didn't get into early on doing the con scene is I didn't know how much demand there was for original art. And it wasn't until later on that when people would ask me, like, do you have anything original that you have for sale? And I always be like, no. Eventually someone was like, you need to have some original art. Actually, it was my con manager, Eric. And so we started printing out these sketch cards. And obviously I'm not like an A-list artist like Tom here, but they people still like, if they like your style, they don't care who you are. If you're an A-lister, C-lister, D-lister, art is art. And so I would price my sketch cards at $5, and my wrist would hurt at the end of the day just because I was drawing so much. And so we priced them at $10. And sure, that price point might offset a lot of people, but it got to a point where it was comfortable where I could manage the people who come by and request art, and it's original. It has my branding on it, it has my information on it.
Yeah, that was really cool. If you guys get a chance to check out Tim's cards, I mean, it's his original branding. It looks very professional, and it's
all
like
on
you're
Instagram,
getting, yeah. And it looks like you're getting a real, actual, authenticated product.
And they, so I offer prints, obviously comic books, the covers I've done. We have a couple of those copies in there too. Bags, so I've done a lot of like con bags, like New York City Comic Con. I did a lot, I think for 2 years I did a lot of their bags. We Love Fine, they print them out, and so we have a couple of those too. And then obviously the prints sell very well. I used to have stickers too. We used to bring t-shirts, but t-shirts overhead is so high, and every place you go to, I always have to do a market research to find out, well, what sizes to bring.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I mean, down south we actually skew more towards like really large.
Right.
I think it's the food. The food here is so good. It's fried food. Yeah. And so we stopped bringing t-shirts just because the overhead was way too much. Even though the profit margin was much better, it was so risky. I'd always be sweating, thinking to myself, oh my gosh, if I don't sell at least like X number of shirts at the show, I'm never going to break even.
Yeah.
So we stopped doing that. But we try to sell kind of a little bit of everything. We have a new sketchbook. I published a sketchbook on my own that we're selling at cons now too, so that if people can't decide on what to get, they can pay a really good price and just get kind of this nice 42-page book with just a nice sampling in it.
Yeah. And you do custom sketches for people?
Yeah, I do custom sketches, commissions. I try to, at first I was doing kind of everything, 11 by 17, 8.5 by 11, just everything here and there, and then eventually I just said, single character, $50. I don't care what it's on, but that's what you're going to get. And people like that. We actually did that at the last show, and it was crazy how many commissions we got. It was the first time we ever got that many at any single show.
Oh, that's great.
And it's hard because like you compete with people like Tom, who's like a brand name. No, but listen to this. So you have a brand name like Tom, his name sells for itself. So people come by and they're just like, oh my gosh, like I want this. Me, it's kind of like, okay, I gotta sell myself on the art. It's just like, here's my work, here's the price point. Like I hope you like it. Please tell all your friends and that type of thing. So hopefully we'll get there. I get to the point where people are like, I want original Tim Lim, but
some of the credentials help. But really, most of the people that stop at the shows that I meet, they care more about the character.
Oh yeah,
And if you can draw the character, or you have a decent print of the character, that's all they care. They don't even know who I'm.
Well, I do.
I have a few hardcore fans, but
maybe it's an Asian thing. I think all the Asians all keep track with each other.
Yeah, it's a competitive thing, no.
Yeah.
But that's great. Anything else you want to add? Like, where can people find you online? You said you have an Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, obviously. If you can't find me at Ninja Inc., it's Ninja Inc. Art. And that's so Ninja, NINJAINK, not Inc. like incorporated.
I'll throw up like a link and stuff like that too, so they can find you really easily.
Oh yeah.
What are some upcoming shows that you have this year? Do you
have I have 3 more in Texas, and I think I have 2 more here in Arkansas, and then whatever else they try to throw at me. I know my
because you live in Arkansas.
I live in Arkansas. Yeah. My manager apparently was trying to get us into Salt Lake City Comic Con. I don't know if it's Salt Lake City Comic Con or just a Comic Con that's in Salt Lake. And that's supposed to be in September, but he's trying to negotiate that deal right now. I try to stay a lot in the South just because it's easier for travel purposes, but obviously he's trying to branch out a little bit more. I'm part of this, I guess, artist group, kind of like a little stable of artists that includes like Carlo Barberi, who's done work on Deadpool, and Walden Wong, who's an inker.
Oh yeah, Walden's a buddy of mine. Yeah.
Is he? Yeah, he's a good guy. He's in that same
I love him.
conglomerate. So what my agent's trying to do is he tries to get all three of us to travel together as a group, and that's how he packages
I've met
us.
Carlo too. He's really nice.
Yeah.
But I actually know Walden. So.
Yeah, personally. Is it because he's Asian?
I met him at Comic-Con in San Diego.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
about a decade ago.
No, he's like a genuinely nice person,
Yes.
and he's so pleasant to talk to. And I met him for the first time at where was that? Texas A&M. We did a show down there at College Station, and he's a really nice guy.
Very cool. Okay, so that's Timothy Lim, artist guest here at Arkansas Art Pop Comic Expo, and I hope to be doing more shows with him. Final question. Do you guys do ear picking like they do over in Asia?
Oh yeah, we do. So
do you really?
Yeah, do you want to hear something interesting about your earwax? Okay, so genetically, you can always tell looking at someone's earwax if they're at least Asian or other. And part of it is because, and this just blew my mind, because when I was a kid, typically like once every 2 weeks, my mom would have this little tiny spoon, and she would just pull my ear back and then clean it out. And Asian earwax is like flaky. I don't know how to describe it, but it's flaky. And
It's all that rice.
it's all that rice that we eat. Yeah, the fiber. I don't know, it just interacts with the ear or something. But it was interesting because when I started, one thing I always thought about it as a kid was I never understood why it was called earwax, because I was like, there's something waxy about it. And then when I went to schooling, they were like, there's a genetic component. You can typically tell from someone's wax alone, like typically if they're Asian, if they're white, and it's because of consistency. Like you pick out someone's ears, and for the most part, it's going to be kind of like a jelly or jam consistency, and if it's flaky, it's Asian. And so we do ear cleanings. I do.
Next to the con, up the main entrance.
Just that way.
Just that way.
Oh, you could go straight that way, or you could go here.
around. Going around is the main entrance.
Oh, is it?
It's over
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Just follow the building.
Yep.
Just follow the building around.
Straight through.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So other like ethnicities earwax, are they like more gooey or
Yeah.
fluid or what?
Fluid. Some are gooey, some are hard. Some harden a lot quicker. Some are orange. Some are black. Some are yellowish.
Who's got
Yeah.
the tastiest earwax?
I think Asians do.
Okay.
Yeah, we use it for fertilizer. You take that earwax out and just like put it all over your plants.
But seriously though, people like you can do ear picking.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, because you don't really hear about that in the States because it's
yeah,
popular in Asia.
Oh yeah,
when I go to
pickings.
Vietnam, like
Yeah.
I get it done. Like those are some of my most viewed videos on YouTube. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
I make money off those videos.
Of those videos.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Hey. Oh, thank you.
So whenever I go there, it's like just a few bucks.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a quick story. I could have sworn I was going deaf in my left ear
Yeah.
for years,
Uh-huh.
and it was noticeably
Worse
than my right ear.
It's because of all the earwax in there.
I didn't know that at the
Yeah.
time. So my first time I did it in Vietnam back in 2013.
Uh-huh.
Like one of my cousins took me, and I did it, and the guy was like saying, "Oh my God," he's taking out chunks, and he kind of jokingly said, "Can you hear better?"
Yeah.
But I could. Like it was like it changed my life.
Right.
It was like the best like $4 I've ever spent.
Right.
So then like my cousin was driving on the back of his motorbike down the street back to my aunt's house, and it was like oversensitive. It felt oversensitive because it's exposed to all this traffic noise
that you hadn't heard in quite a while.
Years, literally years.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing you didn't get an ear infection though, because
they there's always debates on the cleanliness of doing it over there in Asia, but
I'll give
knock on wood.
I'll give your listeners a tip, an audiology tip that they can take to the bank. But so the way you clean your ears out, you don't use Q-tips because Q-tips,
that's what they say.
You'll end up pushing wax in. The other thing too is, so you'll never believe this, but if it feels so good, don't get me wrong, but when you look at a box of Q-tips and look at the instructions, it specifically says do not use in your ears. So people ask all the time, well, how do you clean your ears then? And the way you do it is take a Coke bottle and you unscrew the bottle cap and you put half hydrogen peroxide, half water, and you take a bulb syringe and you just get a few droppings of that. You just pull your ear back, you squirt in there, and you just pull your ear and you just shake it all around. Do that for about a minute and then just dump it out, and do that once a week.
Really?
It keeps your ears clean. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's all you have to do.
Probably saved me and all the viewers like a few $100.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you do that once a week.
That's straight from the source.
That's straight from the source. Yeah.
This thing is still recording, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's just so bright outside.
Yeah. And so it's funny because you'd be surprised how effective it is. But the most important thing is the hydrogen peroxide and the water. Don't just put the hydrogen peroxide by itself because that'll dry your ears out. But you'll save yourself at least $5 from going to Walmart, or $50 having one of us pick it out. But that's the safest way to do it. Other thing too is pull back on your ear canal. Most people don't do that. Like when you go swimming, and you get water in your ear, and you're getting frustrated because you're jumping up and down and you can't get the water out. The part of the reason why is because you're not pulling back on your ear. You pull back on your ear, you actually straighten your ear canal.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt. So I mean, that's how you do it. Pour some of that in there, pull your ear back, shake it, and that's how you drain your ear and get all that wax out.
Well, that's great to know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man,
now you don't have to wait till go to Vietnam to get your ear picked. Now you can just do it at home.
That's true. But I do like the feeling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Plus, I recorded. It gets a lot of views.
There's two types of people in the world: people who like the feeling of Q-tips, and people who don't.
Yeah, that's true. So wonderful, great tips, and it's great talking to you, Tim.
Oh, absolutely.
Really interesting background. Interesting probably to more people than me because we grew up kind of like similar background and upbringing. But now
all you have to do is get Frank Cho or Cliff Chang and tell the same story again.
But I think it's good for the viewers to know. It's always good for aspiring artists to know how you break in the industry too, because everyone's got their own little way of doing it. You just have a more, you just have your unique story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just as we all do. So,
but I'm glad that we share that. I mean, I remember when you said it for the first time and I overheard it. I was like, I gotta talk to Tom about that because I just think that's really cool. I've actually never had an opportunity to talk to another Asian artist about basically the same experience.
Yeah, we need to just like get it out of our system.
We do, yeah.
It builds up. The frustration. I'm just kidding. But, well, great. Well, have a great show.
Absolutely, you
and
too.
I hope to see you again at a future show.
Oh, we will, I'm sure.
And you guys check out his artwork, and we'll flash the links and everything. So, all right. Thank you, guys.